John Felt here, and this is the weekly weather briefing for Kansas corn growers on June 8th, 2019. Well, it's certainly been an active and critical spring, and Kansas has been right in the middle of it with all sorts of weather, severe storms. But I think from a planting standpoint, the excess rainfall has really been a big issue. So I've been focused on that. Now, last week wasn't quite as bad, but it was still not what we wanted. We wanted rain-free and warmer temperatures to help dry out these soils. And you can see we did get some precipitation, generally around a half inch. A few spots, these areas in yellow, received rainfall even up to an inch or so. So, and quite variable. You can see some spots no rain at all, other spots around over 2 inches. So very scattered, typical thunderstorms. And if it was a normal spring, that wouldn't matter all that much, but we need things to dry out. Now, I've got some good news and some bad news in the briefing, and I think more probably bad news than the good news for Kansas. The temperatures over the last week were a bit above normal, which was helpful. It brought soil temperatures up now into the 60s across the entire state. But here's our problem: is we have very wet soils, and at least if this model is correct, it looks like it's generally scattered over the south central part of the U.S., but all these little pockets of darker green are indicating these wet soils. So it's not terrible in all spots. It is terrible in some spots, and it's in better condition in other spots. Rivers are also out of their banks in many areas, especially over the northeast part of the state. But even these areas here with the lighter blue or teal colored, these areas are near bankful, if not in the highest percentile. So that's also a problem. Now, the Missouri River, we have a crest coming down the Mississippi here. We've had a crest coming down the Missouri, and these are both reaching to about this area close to St. Louis. Okay, so the jet stream is in a different type of alignment. Remember a couple weeks ago we had that jet stream right over us southwest. It produced wind shear. It produced a lot of energy. Well, this week at least it looks like it's further up to the north, and that's sort of good in that it might not give us as much precipitation. Now, on the other hand, this is what's going to be the problem this week, is this dip in the jet stream is indicated in blue. There it dips right here. And that dip in the jet stream is going to bring in some cooler temperatures. And you can see them right here. That blue is centered. The strongest anomalies or departure from normal are centered right over Kansas this week. And even through week 2, this goes out through 14 days, we have a bit cooler. So the most significant cooler temperatures week 1, but still lingering in week 2. That's not probably what we want to see or hear. Now here's this big area of high pressure pushing in. Here we go. It's pushing in right here. That's that cold front pushing in the cool air as we speak. And it does look like it's going to peak this week with anomalies. Boy, look at that. Some areas we're looking at 10 to 20 degrees below normal. Now, as far as precipitation goes, could be better, could be worse. Across from the entire Corn Belt, well, there's some areas that have been very wet that aren't going to get all that much rain. So it's not going to push more water down into the Mississippi. On the other hand, we have this band of precipitation right here, generally from about a half inch up to maybe an inch and a half. And that is going to keep fields quite wet. Now, other areas, especially the eastern part of Kansas, looks like lighter amounts, maybe not as much. So this is somewhat not so bad. At least we're not getting something like in this region here where we're getting inches upon inches of rain, but still I would prefer to be somewhat dry. So we look at Manhattan here, just to give us an example, and this is a European model. You can see temperatures dip here during this period right through here. This is moving in now, getting cooler as we go through the weekend, sort of peaking as we get through the middle part of the week, and then maybe pulling back up next weekend. So we have pretty much a full week. High temperatures some days when we have clouds and chance of rain, even in the upper 50s, some days in the 60s, not much out of the middle 70s. So quite cool And we do see, you can see this every once in a while. This is generally light shower activity, so we have some light showers as well. But this is the eastern part of the state, a little bit heavier off to the west. So a 6 to 10 day forecast below normal. Not quite so bad in week 2. I'd say near normal or a little bit below normal temperatures. Week 1, above normal precipitation. Week 2, about the same. I'd say that's overdone a little bit. Now, what worries me, this is something we have to watch out for, is it's out there ways, the 15th through the 17th. There is an outlook for moderate chance for excessive rainfall or heavy rainfall, so we might have a little bit, go from a little bit cooler and drier to temperatures warming up but getting wetter. So I don't see ideal weather at all. But in some areas I see a little bit better than it has been, and maybe that's all we can expect at this time with all the stuff going on around the Corn Belt this spring. So expect an unusually cool week. Most areas, just some light amounts of rain. A few areas, mainly West Kansas, maybe more significant rain. That's this week's briefing. I know it's a very critical weather situation out there. If you have any specific questions you need to ask me, you can reach me at John, John, @bluewateroutlook.com. Take care.